So the $1 million question right now, if you're a sports fan, is not, will there be sports this fall? That's not the $1 million question, because we know that there's going to be sports this fall. We know that the NFL is coming back. We know that the NBA has a late July start date. We know that the NHL should be right around the NBA. Baseball, if MLB doesn't play, well, guess what? That's on them and their own ineptitude for not getting a deal done, because they could be playing games right now. They could have started training in mid-May, and I'm sure everybody would have been A-okay. But the $1 million question right now that sports fans have is, will there be fans in the stands in the fall? And my short answer to that is, there absolutely should be. There absolutely should be full or close to full stadiums this fall. My reasoning is that based on two key pieces of data that have come out over the past 2 weeks on coronavirus. At the end of May, the CDC came out and said that transmission on surfaces is not very likely. So that means if I sneeze on my hand, achoo, the original thought was that if I were to sneeze on my hand, touch a table or a stairwell rail or an elevator button, that I would transmit the coronavirus to somebody and it could live on that surface for days. That's what everybody thought at first. Well, the CDC came out a couple weeks ago and said, hey, that's not actually a likely way of transmission. The other piece of information that came out, and it came out yesterday from the WHO, is that, and by the way, WHO has flip-flopped on virtually everything. They initially said that there's no human-to-human transmission. That was back in January. They were dead wrong on that. But they initially said that asymptomatic people could spread it to everybody and not even know it. Well, yesterday they said the asymptomatic people, transmission from asymptomatic people, is very rare. It is very rare. So right there, that's your two biggest concerns. It's not living on surfaces. Somebody who could have coronavirus but has no symptoms is not likely to be transmitting this virus. So right there, provided you do temperature checks, because 88% of cases, I saw an article the other day, the first symptom is a fever in 88% of cases. So if you do temperature checks, don't let anybody with a fever over, say, 100 in, you're not going to be transmitting the coronavirus at sporting events, and you could have packed and full stadiums. And again, that would be using data to drive this information and not fear. I think we've lived in a society where fear has unfortunately taken precedent over data when it comes to the coronavirus. Athlete safety, listen, this disease is not going to kill an athlete in peak shape, so obviously the athletes can play. Fans, again, is it a risk to go to a game? Sure, it is a risk. It absolutely is a risk. You absolutely could contract coronavirus, but if you're not letting people who have a fever in, you're not letting people who have symptoms in, then guess what? The risk goes down significantly. And it's a risk that I think leagues, fans, and just the world as a whole needs to take so we can get back to normal here. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely tired of sitting around and not being able to live my life the way I want to live it. And I think that if we're smart about it, if we are proactive about it, if we even do things like having arrival times for games to mitigate initial crowds and, social distancing lines, keeping people 6 feet away for as much as possible, I think we could have full or close to full stadiums this fall in the NFL and in college football, and we can get back to living our lives the way it is meant to be lived.